Go.
All right, so we're going to work with Ranger on his recall, because one of the things that is a problem here is he likes to bark a lot and he doesn't come in the backyard. So his guardian has resorted to incorporating kind of a line that he's on, which is unfortunate because he gets tangled around things. We'd like him to feel comfortable just be in the backyard. But for a lot of dogs, being outside is fun, and when we call them inside, that represents the end of playtime. So what we're going to do, when I call a dog, I always start with a 90-degree bend in my arm like this, because going up or down matters. So what I do is I start with a 90-degree bend and I put the treat right here. I call it like the Vulcan place. Now if you hold it, pinch it a little bit, usually you can kind of hold it and keep it in place. So what I do is from a dog's perspective, it looks like I'm holding something. So if I always give a treat like this as opposed to this, after a while the dog sees, oh, he doesn't have anything. So if I hold it like this and my fingers are curled, the dog can't see that I don't have anything in my hand. So after a while, that helps the dog come to us. Ranger, come. Now if the dog doesn't come, as you notice, I made a kissing sound. Ranger, come. And I lower it to the floor. The lower it is, Ranger, there we go. Can you get it? I know the muzzle makes it challenging. Come here, Ranger, come. Ranger, come. Sit. Ranger, come. Ranger, come. So I'm giving a little tug, but then I'm relaxing. Ranger, sit. Okay, so he's telling me he doesn't want to take it. And again, part of it is probably because of the muzzle. So what I do is I start out like this, and then I say the command word come one time. When he comes to me, I typically start out under the right in front of the nose, and then I go up like this over the head. For a dog's anatomy, if their head is here and the treat, and I put my hand like this, as they track up, it puts their butt down in the ground. Ranger, sit, sit. Yes, you're doing that very uncomfortably. I'm sorry, buddy. I don't like manipulating. So then at that point, then I would give him the treat. Now, right now he's communicating he doesn't want to take the treat. But I would give him the treat, and then I would say the word come. Now, right now we have the muzzle on, so it might be a little bit more that he can accommodate right now. So this might be something that you practice later on. Now, if you're just here by yourself, and he happens to be across the room, or you're sitting outside and he's here, hold your hand like this, say, Ranger, come, and then when he comes to you, I lower it to get the dog to come to me, and then when he gets in position, I raise it over their head to put him into a sit. I don't tell him to sit. I just expect a sit. A sit is like the polite way of saying it. And then what I do is I give him the treat. The second that the treat touches the lips, he should hear the command word at the same time. That's what kind of connects the two. So Sarah, I'm going to have you come and kind of sit over here on this step, and I'm going to have your mom call Ranger, and we'll see if we can get elicit a different response. So hold out your hand flat. Ranger, go ahead. Say, Ranger, come.
Ranger, come here.
Can you raise it?
Oh, do I need a treat?
So I was going to have you have a treat. So a couple things. So you said, Ranger, come here. So we want to just say come. So try just saying the word just come. And maybe if you come over here in the red chair, you can see a little bit. No, I meant you, Sarah. You can say there. Ranger. Okay, go ahead and say, Ranger, come.
Ranger, come.
Make a kissing sound.
Come here.
There we go. Now when he... Say it again.
Ranger.
Again.
Ranger.
Now lower your... when next time he looks at you, start lowering your hand to the floor. There you go. Now let him sniff it. Put it right in front of his nose. And then tell him to sit.
Sit.
He's like, I just am not going to cooperate because of the leash, because of the muzzle. So that's okay. This is something where, so now stand up and say it like an order. Stand up tall. Say, Ranger, sit.
Ranger, sit.
Walk and bump into him. In front of him. Ranger, sit. Yes, we're being defiant, aren't we? Sit. Now let's try offering him a treat. Just hold it right down there.
You want it?
Okay, So again, he's showing us he's uncomfortable. You can shoot me now. He's showing us he's uncomfortable with this. Now, we didn't see this on camera, but the guardian reached over and gave him a little scratch on his butt. And I understand that you're trying to do that to try to boost him up and buck up a little bit, but for dogs, the way they interpret that is I'm pouting and now I'm getting petted. Even though it was just a little one, those things add up. So when a lot of the, now I understand he came from an abused background, but it's really important that we make sure that we add the structure. I just like to think about it like dinner before dessert. So you have to eat your dinner before you get your dessert. For him, the dessert is the petting. So this is why petting with a purpose will really have a big impact, because it's going to make a big, once he makes that realization, I'm not going to get attention unless I do that. So what I would suggest is when you're in the house, yes.
Get a shot of Ranger.
He's showing he's very uncomfortable. And this is a warning sign, or a body communication, because he's stiff, he's showing his head is low, we can see his legs are splayed in an unusual position. But again, we can't feel sorry for him because he's in this, because putting a muzzle on him, and again, this is why we want to incorporate the muzzle in the positive way that I described off camera earlier, so that he associates it as a positive and doesn't pout like this. But if we feel sorry for him and we take off this muzzle because of this, then we're just nurturing this, and we're telling him the way to get your muzzle off is by pouting. So we just can't do that, unfortunately. But what I would suggest you do is, again, when you're in the house and he's in the other room, pull out one treat and just say, Ranger, come, or just come. When he comes to you, go over his head, Ranger. Ranger. No. So start out here and then go over his head. It should put him into a sit. As soon as he sits, lower your hand, let him lick it off your hand, and then say the words come at the same time. Even though he's not sitting, and he's not sitting because, again, I think he thinks it's elective. That's where the petting with a purpose will help build the foundation. And then when we go to just raise our hand up over his head, he'll just naturally sit down, and especially when he's getting a treat every time he does this, because then it becomes a good positive association for him. All right, so that's a very unorthodox way of teaching the dog to recall.